All right, a quick lecture on some aspects of social psychology. For next week for the assessment, you'll need to read all of Chapter 12 on social psychology and part of Chapter 7. Check the syllabus for the specific pages in Chapter 7. But in this little lecture, I'm going to talk a little bit about conformity, which is something in the book. I'm going to supplement what's in the book a little bit. I'm going to talk a little bit about helping, and going to talk a little bit about love, something that's not covered in the chapter. Now, conformity, most of you know what conformity is: changing your opinions or behaviors to match other people. And we conform for one of two reasons: either to be liked or accepted by people, and that's what's called normative social influence. But sometimes we conform and go along with other people because we're not sure what to do in a given situation. That's called informational social influence. So if you walk into a museum for the first time and you're not sure how to get tickets, you'll probably look around, and if you see people standing in a line, you'll go stand in that line too, because you think they know something that you don't know. You think they have information that you don't have. So that's why it's called informational social influence. Now, what I want to talk about here for a couple minutes is the fact that it's not necessary that we actually be in the direct presence of or in direct contact with other people for conformity to take place. I'm going to describe a couple of I think, cute little research studies that demonstrate this. This first one by a guy named Goldstein. He was working with a hotel chain trying to see if he could get people to increase their towel reuse, increase the instances of people not wanting a new clean towel every day, people being willing to reuse their towels. And so he ran a little experiment, and the independent variable was the content of a small sign that was hanging in the bathroom of the hotel rooms. One of the signs, or half the rooms, got this sign over here that said, "Just help us save the environment, reuse your towels, it's good for the environment, saves water." The other half of the rooms got this sign over here. It said, "Almost 75% of the guests who are asked to participate in our new research saving program do so by using their towels more than once." So creating the impression that lots of other people are doing this behavior of reusing their towels. And then he had it arranged with the hotel so that the staff would record when they went in to clean the rooms whether people in a given room had reused their towels or not, or requested new clean towels. And what they found was, in fact, that in the rooms where the people got the "hey, everybody else is doing this" sign, the towel reuse was 26% higher. So people conformed and went along with what they believed other people were doing. Quick joke here. There's an old-time comedian named Henny Youngman, and he was famous for one-line jokes. And I like this one. "What a hotel. The towels were so big and fluffy I could hardly close my suitcase." All right, then one more quick study, similar idea. This was done by a guy named Berger. And this was done. He was trying to see if they could get people to use the stairs rather than the elevator. And it was done in two buildings on college campuses. And these two particular buildings were chosen because in both the buildings, the stairs and the elevator were fairly close together. And each building only had 3 floors. They wanted to standardize the number of floors. Now in this experiment, they did what's called an ABA design. You guys should be familiar with that. The A component being a baseline, you collect some data. B, you do an intervention and collect some data. And then the A phase, you go back to baseline and collect some data again. And the data they collected through observation was the number of people actually using the elevator in both buildings. So the A phase was for a week, baseline phase, where they just had observers sitting by in both buildings, sitting by the stairs and by the elevator, and just counting the number of people that used the elevator. Now the second week of the experiment, the B phase of the experiment, is where they manipulated their independent variable. In one of the buildings, they put up a sign that said, taking the stairs instead of the elevator is a good way to get some exercise, why not try it? In the other building, they put up a sign that they called the norm sign. Did you know that more than 90% of the time people in this building use the stairs instead of the elevator? Why not you? Again, creating this impression that everybody else is doing this behavior, or a lot of other people are doing this behavior. And then the final A phase of the ABA design, for a third week, they took the signs down, but still observed and recorded how many people used the elevator. So here's the data that they found. It's kind of neat. So we've got the two sign conditions and the ABA phase, each phase being a week. So in the building where they use the exercise sign condition, the first week, 15% of the people used the elevator. When they put the sign up, it went down a little bit, 13.3%, and stayed about at that 13% rate for the third week when they took the signs down. But where they put that norm sign up, saying everybody's doing this, first week, similar to the other building, the other sign, about 15%. But when they put that sign up, the number of people that used the elevator was almost cut in half. So they got more people using the stairs. And then at week 3, when they took all the signs down in both buildings, the percentage of people that used the elevator stayed low. So they were able to change people's behavior a little bit, get them to use the stairs more than the elevator by creating the impression that that's what a lot of other people are doing. All right, so that's what I want to say about conformity. Now I want to talk about helping a little bit and just describe for you a very famous study that they allude to in the book but they don't talk about. And a lot of you have probably heard of this study before. It's done by 2 psychologists, a guy named Darley and a guy named Latané. And what they did is they recruited college students, invited them in, and told them that they were going to take part in a discussion about personal problems associated with college, adjustment to college difficulties and issues, and that since these might be kind of sensitive issues, they were going to discuss them with other students over an intercom system. That the participants were told they were all going to sit in individual rooms and discuss their difficulties in college over the intercom, as it says here, to preserve the anonymity of the subjects. So here's the setup, looking down from above. There was a hallway in this building where they did the research, and 6 little research rooms. So the research participant was brought in and put in one of these rooms, and they were led to believe that there were either one other person in one of these other rooms that they were going to have a discussion with, 2 other people in 2 other rooms, or 5 other people in these rooms. So the participant was led to believe you're going to partake in a discussion in a group size of 2, you and somebody else. A third of the participants were led to believe that. A third of the participants were led to believe you're going to partake in a group discussion with 3 people in it, you and 2 other people. And the final third of the participants were led to believe you're going to take part in a discussion with 6 people. There's going to be you and 5 other people. So they manipulated the participants' perception of group size. Now, in fact, there were no other participants or people involved in these rooms. Each participant was brought in one at a time, put in a room, and just led to believe that they were going to be interacting over an intercom with either 1 other person, 2 other people, or 5 other people. Now, one of the other people that they interacted with while talking on the intercom, over the intercom, pretends to have a seizure. It's actually a recording. And the way they did it was this. For instance, when the participant was led to believe there were going to be 6 people, the researcher told the participant, okay, we've randomly selected the order that people are going to go in and talk about their problems, and you've been selected to go last. So they put the person in the room, and then they, over the intercom, they played a recording to the person. And the participant heard one person talking about one other, supposed student talking about their difficulties, and then another student talking about their difficulties, and another and another. And the person right before it was going to be the participant's turn to talk was the person that started talking and saying, oh, one of the problems I have is I have seizures sometimes, and they come on at unexpected times. And then this person starts to have a seizure. And I'll say again, this is all recorded, but the real participant doesn't know that. And so here's the text of the seizure that this person supposedly has. Now, in the condition where the participant was led to believe it was only them and one other person, the other person was this seizure person. The person starts talking about their seizure problem, and then has a seizure. So what the researchers were interested in is, does this participant, person sitting in the room who believes now that somebody else sitting in the hallway with them in a different room is having a seizure, does this person try to help them? And so what they recorded was, for each person, what percentage of people in each group got up, left the room, and either went to get the researcher for help or started looking in the other rooms to see if they could find the person who was having the seizure. When the participants were led to believe that they were in a group of 2 people, it was just them and the other student has the seizure, every single one of them came out of the room, and they timed 3 minutes from the time the seizure stopped, the supposed seizure stopped. The researchers started a stopwatch and waited 3 minutes. If the real participant didn't come out of their room in 3 minutes, they went in and got him and debriefed him. But in the condition where the participants were led to believe they were in a group of just 2 people, them and another person, and the other person is having a seizure, 100% of them came out of the room, and the average time it took them to come out was 52 seconds. When the people were led to believe, or the participants were led to believe, they were in a group of 3 people, them and 2 other people, only 85% of them came out of their room to try to help within the 3 minutes. And those that did come out, it took them a little longer. It took them 93 seconds before they came out. And in the condition where the people were led to believe there were 5 other individuals, there's 6 of us in this group, only 62% of them came out within the 3 minutes. And those that did come out, it took them an average of 160 seconds before they actually left the room to come out and look for help. And this is a concept a lot of you guys are familiar with. It's called the bystander effect. The fact that in an emergency situation, when someone needs help, the more people there are around, the less likely any one of those people is going to offer help. And this occurs because of what's called diffusion of responsibility. That the people there seeing the incident look around, they see, gosh, there's lots of other people here also who could be responsible to help. And so the notion of the responsibility to help the individual is diffused or spread among all of us here who are observers. And so it's less likely that I'm going to go and help. All right, and then one last thing, I want to talk a little bit about love. Some of you may be familiar with this as well. A guy named Robert Sternberg came up with an interesting theory of love. And he says that love has 3 main components: intimacy, passion, and commitment. Intimacy is emotional closeness and connectedness and openness that 2 people feel. The passion component of love is the sexual arousal, the excitement, the physiological arousal that you feel when you are with a particular person. And then the commitment component is a loyalty and a decision, a conscious decision that you make to stay in a relationship. So he says these are the 3 main components of love. Some of you may feel like this. And here's what he says then. He says you can think about those three main components of love, the intimacy, passion, and commitment, as the corners of a triangle. And he says if there's just intimacy in a relationship between two people, no passion and no commitment, just intimacy, he calls that liking. So he says liking is a form of love. So liking is when there's just intimacy. If there's just passion in a relationship, no intimacy or no commitment, he calls that infatuated love. So that's a relationship based, again, mostly on sex and the physical components. All right, could be a very short-term thing. When two people hook up, at that time he would say they're experiencing infatuated love. If there's just commitment in a relationship, no intimacy and no passion, he calls that empty love. This might be the case of a married couple that stay together because of their kids. They don't really have any intimacy, they don't have any passion, but they decide to stay together because they have kids. Or maybe an arranged marriage where two people have been sort of betrothed by their families to be married, and they're going to stay together, they're committed, but there's no intimacy or passion. Now what he says is that there are also the combinations of these main components. He said if there's intimacy and passion in a relationship, but not much commitment, he calls that romantic love. So there's the closeness, the connectedness, the intimacy, and the passion, the sexual component. If there's passion and commitment in a relationship, but not much intimacy or no intimacy, he calls that fatuous love. An example of that might be people that are having an affair. All right, there's clearly the passion, sexual component, and there's a commitment. They're going to keep doing it, but there's not much intimacy. There's not much closeness between these people. He calls that fatuous love. And then companionate love is the combination of intimacy and commitment, but not much passion. So this might be a mature kind of love relationship where maybe a couple's been together for a long time. They're still very close in the intimate sense. They're very committed to each other, but the fire has kind of gone out of the relationship. So he calls that companionate love. The ideal love, he would argue, is where all three of these things are present. Intimacy, passion, and commitment. He calls that consummate love.